What is up, guys? Welcome back to Tidal Gardens. This is the June live show. Please let me know if you guys can hear me okay. That's why we like to start these things off a little bit early. And if you happen to have tuned in for the past two other live shows, we've been trying to do this 4K live stream to no avail. It's very likely user error, but at the same time, I think I'm doing it right this time, but I'm getting some really unhelpful tooltip type error codes, like some things couldn't be saved. And I'm like, cool. Anything more specific, Google? But no, nothing more specific. So that's what we have to go on. So in chat, if you could let me know if you're able to see a 4K live stream or even a 1440 live stream, something more than 1080p. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. As far as like my broadcast is going, we are looking really good, no dropped frames or anything like that, but it is all on this communication end between broadcast, upload, and whatever the heck Google is doing. And in the past, I think that the thing that was like really screwed up was the Google part. But again, that might have been some user error. But this time around, I'm not sure if the user part was fixed. We shall see. Jeff Hunt says audio is good. Thank you, Jeff. What is up, Harkins? Haven't seen you in a while, so hope you are can't talk. Hope you are doing well. Diacanthus, I'm on mobile today. I can hear you good, and I have the higher resolution option this time, so that's a good sign. Okay, interesting. 4K is working. The field of view on your camera is weird, which makes your face seem off. Them's the breaks. What is up? Okay. So as far as what is going on here, I'm going to change this framing just a little bit because like, see how if I sit up straight, my head's getting cut off. So let me just change that. Okay. That's a little better. It buys me a few inches. So if I sit up, fine. Okay, AK Sells Florida Real Estate says the 4K option is working. Fantastic. Michael Sloan says 4K. Nice. Jeremy Rankin finally made it to the live sale. Nice. You're picking a good one because we've got about 225 corals, and assuming that we don't have some kind of like a catastrophic failure of some kind, we are probably better looking than ever before. Framing is much better. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I have to like put my seat down a little bit, but my seat is all the way bottomed out down. So yeah, doing good. Nice. So this will be interesting because in the past, like the past few shows, when I was trying to do the 4K thing, not only was the 4K not working, but the 1080p that was actually making it onto the feed was really bad. It was potato quality, and we don't put in all this effort to have it end up looking like a potato. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this whole live stream will look that much better. Jordan M. 4K looks great. 4K looks great. I see all the wrinkles and pores in glorious HD. It just ended for you? Oh, dang. It's still live for Mark Glass. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, because on my preview, it is not going. So I don't know, guys. Refresh, refresh. I'm going to refresh real quick and see how that goes. Yeah, that was weird. Hmm. Okie doke. Yeah, so that's interesting. Hopefully we don't have that happen too often, but okay, so assuming that this 4K thing is working out, the other possible hiccup is that the like the bandwidth is like barely good enough for 4K that we're sending up, which is really strange because according to this, we're not dropping any frames, not even a single, like zero. So coming out, it really should be clean. But if there's like a hiccup at all in our upload, that could cause some kind of like weird thing. It might also just be like a reception end on YouTube servers. We will see. I'm back online. Must have been on my. No, I don't think it was just the wrenches that got booted. I think that like because on my screen too, it clearly, yeah, something clearly happened. Because like I was getting like the spinning circle of death on my preview, but on my broadcasting software, it was completely clean. And I know this is just like irrelevant, too much information type stuff, but I broadcast on a different computer than what I control for my studio stuff. So this laptop that I have just sending is that's the only thing running on it. So it's like very clean, very clear. And on this other computer, not even another screen, it's another computer. That's where I have like YouTube pulled up. That's where I can see the incoming stream and it says everything is cool. And at that point, that's when I got like spinning circle of death. So that's why like the two my two displays kind of had a discrepancy there. Oh, how is everyone doing? Doing good. You know, I just wish that there's more hours in the day this time of year because there's like so much that I want to be getting done here. Like there's a lot of like aquarium stuff that I want to get done, which I suppose I can talk about in some slow periods. There's also like outdoor stuff I want to do. Like I need to mow my I need to mow my grass. And I haven't been able to for some combination of it raining and me traveling. So I do need to like get back on that. I've got like literal trees growing in front of my yard that need to be weed trimmed. Like it's a whole thing, you guys. It's a whole thing. But yeah, mainly I want to get a lot of the aquarium stuff done because I'm expecting some visitors over the next pretty much every couple of weeks until like late fall. I've got like people scheduled to come and see the place. So I would like, you know, for the tanks to be nice and clean, no problem algae stuff, no pest issues. Um, I'd like to redo my floors, that type of stuff. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna flip it over to the actual coral portion of the show now. Okay, like I said, there's 225 corals, I think, and that should take us to about 4:30 ish Eastern. Tattooed Dancer 91. Gorgonians with a flat appearance. How would you orient them according to light? flat side up, sideways most, or point up? We just put them straight up. And lighting is one of those, because of LED, lighting now is a little bit more of a complicated discussion just because of how important angles and stuff like that are. In the past, when you had metal halide and you had T5, one of like the perks to those types of lighting was you used reflectors. Like the bulbs, they shine every bit as much up as they do down into your tank. So you use them in these canopies with reflectors. And if you've ever seen what a reflector looks like, oftentimes they're like these parabolic shapes and everything like that. It just greatly multiplies the look of that light. You look up at it and you see like 50 metal halide bulbs practically. And the cool thing about that is you get all these different angles covered shining back down into your tank. But with LEDs now, you get like this really harsh spotlighting. And because of that, if your corals or gorgonians in this case get cast in shadow, that is basically zero light. I mean, it's zero par. And yeah, in the past, you would never have had that because you have so many different angles covered. So these days, when we're talking about light and light exposure for coral, you almost need to buy more fixtures than you think are necessary just to get the kind of like three-dimensional coverage around each type of coral. That's where like additional light bars help because I'm going off of the assumption that most people aren't using like the broad panel lights. They're using kind of like the more spotlighty things. So for an example, a spotlighty thing would be like an Ecotech Radion, or what else is spotlighty? Kessels are spotlighty, as opposed to something like a Philips Coral Care or an ATI Stratton, or an Orphic, not an Amazonas, an Orphic. What are those things called though? The Reef Light. Why am I blanking on the name of that? We've got like 6 of them downstairs. But those tend to handle angle better just because you don't have pucks. You have just, it's basically like a sheet of LEDs. But even then, those could benefit from like additional lights, tilted at an angle, like light bars. Matt Wagner, how are the Bergias coming? Can locals come get some and drive over? So, Matthew, email us because right this second we do have them. And so that might work out really, really nicely because we were just going to spread them out throughout our greenhouse and some of the tanks here. But yes, we have like 2 cultures of them going right now. So yes, definitely send an email and the guys will get something on the calendar to have you pick up. The ever-present grass problem at your house. Yeah, not the most green solution in the world, but I would like to build another building. But there's no budget for anything like that right now. But yes, that would be less to mow and give me some added utility that I could really appreciate. Warhood. I finally reset up my tank after 2 years, so I'm going to need some corals. It's so nice to finally catch these streams. Nice. Nice. And so again, for those of you that are shopping, the pinned comment up top, that's the link to get you to our live show page. You'll see all the items available for sale. And there's like an FAQ in there. It says like tell you kind of like how it all works with the shipping and all of that fun stuff. The key thing, since we're live currently right this second, is you have to finish the checkout process to actually get the coral. Just having it in your shopping cart doesn't reserve anything. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Dan, is it true that you live on site in your coral farm? I live on the same property, but the coral farm is a different building. So, for example, um, there's like so this is an old horse farm, and there's like a little farmhouse. I guess it's not that little. It's probably like 1,500 to like 1,800 square feet. So it's not like the smallest little place in the world, but that's where I live, and it's like a 500-foot walk back to these buildings. And Tidal Gardens is actually multiple buildings. The big new building obviously is like the big feature thing, but the original greenhouse is still here and still producing lots of coral. We've got a warehouse where it's literally filled with shipping materials. Like the amount of stuff that we need. We have like pallets and pallets of pallets and pallets and some more pallets of shipping material. And so that's the entire barn is just full of that. And then we kind of have like a recreational barn that we use maybe once a year. But do I actually sleep in this building? No, I've never done it. Which is kind of odd in a way because it is a million times nicer than my house. Not that my house isn't nice, but the Tidal Gardens like main facility here, it's really nice. Tricky Mick Trucking. A spotlight LED with smaller T5s is a great combo for coverage. I agree. These days, though, there's not the reflectors that I'm used to seeing for the T5s, and it's your access to T5s as time goes on is going to be really limited. So there's I don't know if it's currently going on. There was some debate about like what's the best lighting? Is it T5? Is it metal halide? Ugh. Is it LED? Um, sorry about that. Sorry about that. In the stream. So anyway, what I was saying is there was this debate, and there still might be this debate. I'm not really sure, but it's this. What's the best lighting? Is it metal halide? Is it T5? Is it LED? And yeah, I think it's a moot point because the correct answer is only one of these things is going to be producing light in 10 years. Like the places that made the best metal halides and T5s are banning that technology. So like for example, ATI in Germany, they make the staple best T5s, right? You all know what a blue plus is. You all probably know what an aqua blue special is. Those are ATI bulbs. Germany banned T5 bulbs. So like ATI is not making T5s anymore. Radium, German. Yeah, I believe it's German, right? Like the Radium 20K, not being made. Like metal halide, definitely illegal in Germany. Iwasaki's in Japan. I don't know if they have been made in a very long time. So yeah, the idea that I'm gonna like stick with metal halide. Good luck with that. There's not going to be that many options to even get this stuff. Warhood, is there anything that I should be prepared for when restarting a tank that's been dry for 2 years? I plan on using all the same equipment. Just make sure that if you're using obviously the same aquarium, make sure that it's not going to leak. Sometimes, like if it's silicone and glass, sometimes like the dried out silicone can kind of get squirrely. So make sure that it's not leaking. And as far as the equipment goes, I would get a voltage meter, like a multimeter, and just check to see if you have leaking voltage. Because again, older pieces of equipment, they might have like some goofiness in the seals and stuff like that. I love my Kessel ripoff from Coral's Coral. Not heard that. I pick makes them not nearly a spotlight. Okay. The sky is officially dead. Not surprising. Nobody really bought that light. Let's see. Your house is a nice size, but the coral farm dwarfs it. I mean, it's not even close. Like, this building is like 9,000 square feet. It's gigantic. So, yeah. Hillbilly Reefer, hey, FYI, you're at 4K 60. Yes. So I apologize in advance if there are hiccups because I don't, from my end going out, it's very apparent that like we're sending the appropriate bit rate. I'm getting no dropped frames or anything like that. But every now and again, there's like a hiccup in the stream, and I'm fully blaming YouTube servers for that or my ISP because we are apparently delivering exactly what we need to be delivering with no drops. So fingers crossed. We're like redlining it. We are redlining it, trying to get that resolution up. Let's see. Okay, I've gone to LED entirely because of that reason, with chameleons and bearded dragons as well. Certain tech is just going to go away for multiple reasons. Speaking of, okay, so this is a little bit a sidetrack, but tricky Mick trucking. I wonder what they're going to do with UV, because I know that a lot of lizards need UV, like UVA or I think it's UVB, right? And the only good way to do that currently, I think, is fluorescent. Than, are you able to ID the different Zoanthus species in the hobby? I am not. Um, in fact, I never really even looked into it. Uh, it would be kind of interesting, but like I'm also not really well suited to do it, other than just looking at pictures, because I'm actually Facebook friends with like one of the chief researchers on specifically zoanthid identification and taxonomy. He's over in Okinawa, and he's been doing this for like ages, and he's doing like a genetic sequencing of this stuff. And I don't have the ability to do this. So really all I would be doing is looking at pictures. And I don't know how helpful that really is. I mean, right now the hobby is so far off when it comes to like really IDing them, because I think that basically any big polyped zoanthid or the zoanthus is being called a pally. And we do that too. I mean, it's just kind of like what the market calls stuff. But the number of actual paleothoa that are being, bought and sold, like the number is really, really small. There's only a few strains. But yeah, like any big polyzoa that's a pally. So getting into the weeds on specifically the zoas, not really in my wheelhouse. Okay, that's not true. T5 bolster animal care are not banned. Okay, it's in a grace period. It is in a transition period. They definitely are trying to ban it. They're just kind of like giving like the animal care folks just a little bit of like operating room. But yeah, like the writing's on the wall. It is not. It's going in one direction. Definitely not coming back the other one. And by the way, like the whole animal care thing, they're also trying to ban those. Like it's like the direction of most things, like the pet industry and also technologies that are considered outdated. Um, it's going in one direction. They're not like opening the floodgates for you to own like exotic cats and exotic birds. Like that's not happening. It's always seemingly trending towards banning. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that Germany would love to ban all reptile sales. Okay. Sorry, catching up on chat here. I'm like reading much slower these days. Brandon Fuller made my first order with a gift card you donated to the Aquatic Expo in Charlotte. Thanks again. Can't wait for my pink Krakatoas. Nice. Congrats, Brandon. Yeah, so this past weekend, I was down in Charlotte for the Aquatic Expo. It was nice. It was nice to kind of like get away for the weekend, and it was like a big show, um, but it wasn't like crazy busy. So when shows are not crazy busy, it sucks for the vendors, no doubt. But for somebody like me who wants to have like meaningful discussions with people, it's really kind of nice. So I got to talk to everybody that I was looking to talk to. I got to have like longer talks with attendees of the show. So in that sense, it was quite nice. Um, by the way, I also happen to win Aquarist of the Year. That was a bit of a surprise because I was they were doing like the award presentation, and I was just like sitting in the crowd like f- jamming a muffin in my face, and then when they started to like to talk about like the Aquarist of the Year prize, and they started to mention like and this person's YouTube channel such and such, and I'm like. I wonder if they're talking about me as I'm like stuffing my face. And finally, when they said my name, I'm like full on like like chipmunking this entire muffin, and then have to like walk on stage and accept a prize. But that was very nice of them. Let's see. Rolando. Newly added Favia starting turning white around the polyps. All parameters are pretty stable. Elevated magnesium. Anything that could cause this? Really tough to say. If it's a newly added anything, it could just be going through some transition stuff. You really at this point, I mean, all I would focus on is just keeping stuff consistent and just writing it out. If you wanted to be proactive, you can always do water changes, but nothing crazy. Do you ship to Germany? I do not. US only. Uh, Jerome, hey, Tidal Gardens. Remember you had mentioned on a video that Kyocera was making a new fancy light. Anything new from there? I think the last I checked, and this was like years and years and years ago, they're still making that light. It just happens to be like a ton of money, and there's like, you're importing from Japan, which is adding in even more money. So it hasn't like really caught on, but if you're in Japan, you can spend a whole bunch of money and get one. I thought they're pretty cool though. Be the fountain, not a drain. Yo, what is up, Brandy? So, yes, Brandy was one of the main organizers of the Aquatic Expo, and she was a gracious host all weekend. So, thanks so much, Brandy. The writing is on the wall is that they sell those machines to China and they will make lower quality products. Um, are we talking about lights? Because I'm pretty sure China. Oh well. Okay, hold on. Okay, okay. YouTube, these live things started to autoplay like ads. So apologies if I happen to see it where it gives me the option to skip it. I'll skip it. Um, yeah, it depends. I mean, it's funny how like certain machines make their way over to Asia, and then Asia becomes like the best source for such and such product. And I think that China, see, the thing about China is that they have the ability to make insanely good products. They're just not asked to. Usually when companies, especially US companies, are going to China, it's not to make the best stuff, it's to make the cheapest stuff. So they'll make it to spec. They need to hit a certain number. So they're gonna make an awful product to get it to that price point. But if they're actually tasked to make an outstanding high quality item, for example, there is a studio lighting company called ironically Aperture. um, and like this light that's shining from here is an Aperture. Okay, it's about $1,000, and that sounds like an expensive light, but it's actually in competition with a German light from Ari, that would have been like $6,000. And now they're no longer considered like a budget studio lighting option. They are one of the premier lighting options, to the point that this light that's shining in here is another Chinese company called Godox that makes a very high quality light at about $500. So, yeah, like the two of the most popular, like one is kind of I'd say mid-tier to prosumer level and professional level light are both Chinese. And if you want to go crazy, crazy, you can spend like the big bucks for like the German sky panels and stuff. But yeah, China can deliver some very high quality stuff. But I was just thinking about machines specifically, and uh, like blue jeans. The highest quality blue jeans are made in Japan. So like companies like Momotaro and stuff like that, they make like selvage raw denim jeans and stuff like that. So like jean crazies really search out these Japanese companies. But all of those Japanese jean clothing makers are using American machines that were bought like in the 1950s. So they've bought them all, and there's only like so many of them, but they've pretty much cornered the market on like the highest quality textiles, and it's from American machinery. But yeah, they've completely cornered that market as like the top tier. Also, don't sleep on Tidal Garden stickers. They're amazing. Thank you. Yeah, we've been upping our game on the random merch lately. And we made some cool stickers and stuff like that. So there's like sticker packs. So what we donated for like five $100 gift cards plus a sticker pack. But we're looking to branch out into like t-shirts and stuff like that. But obviously, I want better t-shirts. Like the we were using Teespring through YouTube, and it's one of those print on demand type places. And the quality of the t-shirts was, basically disposable. And they're about what 20 something, 30 something dollars for this t-shirt. Super low quality. It'll like, pretty much like digest itself after a few washes. But I started to watch these YouTube channels talking about like, higher quality things, like live better a little bit, right? So it's mainly about like work clothing and boots and stuff like that. I know, ironic, right? that I'd be like watching that type of content. But um, one of the t-shirt makers that they really liked was a company called American Giant. And when I looked into this company, like they are making shirts out of 100% American farmed cotton in American textile factories, paying obviously American workers a living wage. So when you add up all that, you end up with a very high quality but very expensive t-shirt. So I was thinking I would start making Tidal Gardens merch when I have like a couple nickels to rub together over here. And I might just start it off as like gift items to like some influencer types and people that I've probably been watching on YouTube for like a really long time, just like, hey, really like the work you've been doing for like the past like 5 years or whatever. Here's a care package from us and have like a shirt included. But I might eventually open that up for sale later. Uh, just to warn you, those shirts completely blank are expensive, but they're the nicest t-shirts I've ever seen. They're really thick, like really thick, 100% cotton. They're super soft, and when you wash them, they don't shrink or anything. They're really, really nice. But It is not a disposable t-shirt, let's just say. Fish anywhere. Hello all, hope everyone is having a great Saturday. Who's hitting Reefapalooza New York? Not this guy. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I am entertaining here that weekend. Japanese blue jeans are so amazing that they'll fit them to you in the shops. And some of those are like crazy pricey. Like the jean crazies, it's like $2,000-$3,000 for jeans. James Sulima. My Miss Piggy Gani has blue tips. Is that normal as it grows out? I don't know if that's necessarily a coloration change or if it's concentrating nematocysts at the very tips of its tentacles. Sometimes when we see that, it is kind of a form of aggression. So obviously, I wouldn't necessarily worry about anything like that, but that could be something. It might be trying to like fight something nearby. You know what I haven't done? Oh, hold on. I'm gonna speed run like the last few comments here, and then I have to quickly say my thank yous to the sponsors. Okay. Philip Fest, just joining in to give you a shout out. First order from last week was an elegance. It's gorgeous. TG Supernova came in today and it's stunning. Also, your worker Ben is excellent. Give him a raise. Ben is highly compensated. Don't gotta worry about Ben. Although he doesn't feel highly compensated right now because he just bought a house, and so he's probably feeling like really house poor. Like, it's one of those things where when you've been doing the apartment life your whole life, and then you buy a house and you get like smacked in the face with the joys of home ownership. Like, oh, by the way, big expensive thing is broken. You need to replace it. That sort of thing. But congrats to Ben. He just bought a house. Jordan M. I want high quality teas and coral print hand towels. Yeah, actually, like hand towels might be dope. I don't know if American Giant sells that, but they sell like some accessory type thing. So maybe I'll have to look into that. What American Giant is like really known for is their hoodies. And you know what? So here, I happen to have one of the hoodies here. I've never tried it on, obviously, but one sec. Okay, so this is an American Giant hoodie. You probably can't see it on screen very easily because it's black. I got this for Becca because we did an image licensing deal with one of the public aquariums in California, and it was like this. This is dealing with corporate. This is my like corporate rant, but dealing with corporate, they were like, I had to go back and forth for like a month, and it was for $100 or something like that. I'm like, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Can you send us your like tax ID stuff and all that for over like for $100? And at the end of it all, they just had to PayPal me like $100. Anyway, it was one of Becca's photos, and I was like, you know what? I'm curious about like the quality of these hoodies. She loves hoodies. It's her image anyway. I'm just gonna buy the hoodie because you know it's basically like her licensing deal. So, anyways, it's crazy thick. Like it feels like it could stop a bullet. Okay, but you probably can't see it on camera very easily. But like the arm, like the elbows are like elbow padded. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the light just a little bit there. Yeah, there's like a additional padding for everything. I mean, this is like thick. And I even saw it once where like if you yeah, look. This like the hoodie test. If you just like, you know, prop the hoodie up, like it can physically stand on its own. Crazy. Anyways, good job, Becca. Keep shooting them photos. All right. So anyway, Look into bunker branding out of Texas to print your t-shirts. I mean, at this price point, we might be looking at possibly embroidering. Let's see. I would like to see some more uncommon Leptoceras in the hobby. You know, that's one thing that typically you don't see a lot of. In general, you see a lot of the sameness when it comes to Leptoceras. We have like a bunch of them, but I think we have like all of them. I mean, we went through collecting at them at one point, and I really haven't seen anything super interesting in Leptoceras land. Steven13, hi Than, greetings from Philly, welcome. Speaking of Steven13, I have to get to my thank yous. So real quick, thank you to the only corporate sponsor currently. It is Polyp Lab. Thank you so much, Phil. It was actually really funny. Because I had been traveling this past weekend, I forgot to send them in like my bill. And you know when like you're working with like the right corporate partner, when they hit you up on like Monday, or it wasn't even Monday, it was like Wednesday. It was like June 6th or something. And he's like, "Hey, did you send the bill? Because we didn't get it yet, and we wanted to make sure everything was okay. Like, we're kind of worried." They were worried that I hadn't billed them yet, you know? So it's like, yeah, you can tell like they are very, 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 very excited about working with us. So thank you guys at Polyp Lab. Thank you to the Patreon donors: Elaine Martinassi, Alan Jackson, Ann Lewis, Brandy Camp, that's Be the Fountain, Chuck Admire, Greg Zimmerman, Harkins Aquatics, also in chat, ICP Test Hub, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Lisa Clow, Lacry Fine Art, Lynn Holt, Miss Mandy, Puddle Aquatics, Ryan Baker, Scott Williams, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, Thomas Tarrant, and Tim Garner. And on the YouTube member side, we have new person, Renee Newman, Mark Baumgartner, William Heights, Carlos Fernandez, Steven13, thank you for the reminder, Mike Downey, Keith Holland, Terry Kuhn, Herb777, Justin Harden, and Ohio Adventures. Thank you all so much. Okay. Harkins, I spend several $100s a year on work boots because I even buy 2 pairs to rotate so that they have time to dry fully between each 2 days. So, have you heard of a company called Nix Boots? Nicks. Supposedly they are insanely good. They're like in the Pacific Northwest, and their main boots are used for like firefighting, like wildfires in the Pacific Northwest. And they will actually make pseudo custom made to measure stuff. Like they actually give you like a boot template and everything like that. And once those things break in, they're supposed to be insanely nice. I was thinking about getting them, and then I remembered, oh right, I don't actually work. So work boots for me, probably overkill for what I actually live like, right? Harkin, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. Couple things. Ryan Reeves, what's up, Dan? What is up, Ryan? So Ryan and I actually got to hang out in Dallas. We got some barbecue, and it was really funny. Like real quick barbecue story. Like we were extremely dumb that day or something because we were looking at the beef rib, and this lady was so done with us when we were trying to order because it's like they only sell it by the bone, and it's like $35 a pound. And so they're like, okay, it's gonna be 2 pounds. And we're like, but we don't want 2 pounds. We just want 1 pound. Can we just buy 1 pound? And she's like, no, we sell it by the bone, 2 pounds. And we're like, can it be split? She's like, 2 pounds. That is it. $70, 2 pounds. And so yeah, Ryan and I were just like, but that's too much. Can we just have less? Anyway, I ended up having brisket. Bummed about Magna. I'm not sure it will ever return. It is so difficult to put on a show these days. It is super stressful. It's crazy expensive. Crazy expensive. Dealing with sponsors, dealing with vendors, dealing with the building, the fire code, and also, by the way, you have to deliver a crowd. And these days, times are kind of tight. You know, not a lot of people just have like tons of disposable income where they could just like hop on a plane and spend like 4 days in Orlando. Like, there's just not a lot of that. So I think that a lot of these types of shows, there might, be some like financial hurdles. And if you're in a situation like Macna where you're also reorganizing, that's a pain because like, when stuff is like done by committee at these types of things, for a first time team like that, who knows what kind of like, mess there might be behind the scenes, because there's always messes behind the scenes at these shows. Like, don't even get it twisted. Like, all of these shows are really, really, really difficult to pull off. Extremely absorbent towel would be an awesome thing to gift to a fellow reefer. King of Soul seems like a nice quality hoodie. Yeah, I think so. It's the best I've ever seen. I'm not a hoodie connoisseur, but it's nice. Baker, can I use Gorilla Glue clear for aquascaping corals? As long as it's 100% cyanocrylate, yes. Let's see. Let's see. What does the company sponsorship do for both companies? They get recognition on our videos. We get money. In short, that's how that is. Harkins, you always have some of the prettiest alveopore in the whole industry. Thanks. They're not always super happy, but they're doing really well. They are doing really well right now. Dark Reef, best regards from Germany. Thank you. I've been watching my friend March's videos. He was there for Interzoo. I wish I could have gone to Interzoo. Like, I feel like I really missed out on Interzoo. But he's doing like the tour of like Germany and stuff like that. He was just at Tunze, and he was showing some kind of the behind the scenes of like their operation. And he went to White Corals. It was really cool to see, and like another really high end coral place. Imagine a light with interchangeable LEDs for a customizable spectrum. You can get those. They're not common, but Orphic, they make a light, and I'm sure it's the same light as like the Max Spect, but like the Orphic Amazonas, like the ones that we have, you're able to customize the puck. And like each puck, you have like the ability to customize like every LED in it practically. So yeah, they're made to measure, and you have four pucks that you can do in that particular fixture, and you have four channels of control. So you have like a lot of customization, and I think theoretically you can replace the pucks. Uh, that might be challenging. It might not be worth your time to do it, but it's possible. Jude Clark. Hi, Than. Greetings all the way from South Africa. What's your favorite fish and why? My favorite fish right now is probably a copper band butterfly. I like the fact that they eat Aptasia. They sometimes eat Micromusa too, but we won't talk about that just yet. Um, I like their personality. Uh, yeah, I mean they get very tame. That's kind of like what I liked about them. They're very tame looking after a while, and hopefully they get to eating for you. That's like our biggest struggle. Right now we have them all eating frozen food plus Aptasia. But we have one in particular that literally will only eat frozen clams and will pick at my hand if I'm doing work in the tank. He's an odd duckling. Algae Warrior, Pecan Lodge is so good. What is Pecan Lodge? I'm gonna look it up real quick. That is not where we ate, but I will take your word for it that it is good. I mean, I like Texas barbecue. I haven't been to Kansas City in a really long time, but I remember liking Kansas City barbecue a lot. I recently had North Carolina barbecue, obviously in Charlotte. Um, right now, if I had to say, because it's been so long since I had KC barbecue, I really enjoy Texas barbecue. Harkins, when I tried to help with MACNA a few years ago, I made the recommendation of that of removal of all paid positions to save the org, and the people got real upset. Then I just left the org. Um, yeah, I don't know like the math that goes on in that show, but also like MACNA. I mean, obviously MACNA today is not the MACNA of yesteryear. Back in the day, like in the 90s, Magna was the only big show. Only big show. So its gravity was like, I mean, they could charge whatever they wanted for stuff. It was an expensive show to attend. Uh, and I remember talking with one of the older organizers, and like the number of room reservations that they would have to make at a hotel was in the thousands. Like right now, like a few hundred rooms is like a lot for any show. But they were doing like 2 3 thousand reservations for that show. I mean now like probably like 500 will get the job done. So it used to be gigantic, and like the amount of money that had flown through there. And yeah, again, I have no insight on the finances of it, but I'm guessing that like with the added competition from stuff like Reefapalooza and Aquashella and some of like the larger regional shows, plus every small show that just wasn't around back then, that probably like choked out like Magna as a thing. But right now, if I had to say, Magna might be like the best show for me, because it's the most business to business focused. They have enough they have enough for hobbyists that want to come and see. They have like it'll be a good time. There's like a lot of speakers, a lot of workshops and stuff like that. But it is by far the most active business to business. So you get a lot of the manufacturers coming in from Europe and stuff like that. You have the manufacturers coming in from Asia. And to a large degree, you don't really get that kind of gravity with any of the shows currently. Um, Maybe a tiny bit Reefapalooza, but Reefapalooza is definitely more about coral selling. Aquashella, I mean, let's be real. Like Aquashella is like 80% not saltwater aquarium these days. And like if you go there as a saltwater aquarium vendor, you know, your sphincter might be puckering just a little bit after like Saturday, just because it's like, dude, everybody here is freshwater and reptile, that sort of thing. It's just because obviously the real aquatics market, 90% of it is not going to be saltwater. So when you have like these mixed topic shows, it's going to be dominated by the freshwater folks. Um, so if you're a saltwater vendor or saltwater manufacturer, doesn't make a ton of sense. Maybe, maybe not. But I don't know, like a company like Siche, a lot of stuff can be usable in freshwater. So you'll see Siche, like companies like that. Perhaps lighting manufacturers, sure, but like some of the more dedicated saltwater companies, saltwater brands, they might not be making it to like a regional show that focuses on fresh and salt, because really it's fresh. Would you consider Pectinia to be a chalice? No. I would define chalice to be all genera formerly in the family Pectinidae. Okay. So chalices are it's a meaningless thing, to be perfectly honest. I mean, at one time there's probably 20 different genera in that. It was just anything that was flat in an LPS. These days, though, It's like Echinopora and Mycedium. I think most things that weren't those two things have kind of like found their own place. Like things like lithophyllin was considered a chalice, and that's a fungid. You know, it's like a plate coral. There's a few other things that are in there, but Pectinia have always been their own thing to me. Let's see. Armani Custom Jewelry Design. Than, is it possible to review selling item by the listed number after the show to make a final selection and place the order? I'm not sure if I fully understand your question. Um, but after this show is over, we keep that live show category active for several days. So if you wanted to like pick over the remnants of that, yes. If you're asking about like filling up your shopping cart now and then checking out like days later, that might not work for you, because that doesn't reserve the items. You actually have to check out to get something. So most of these things, granted, have multiple available. So for example, like you see that circle there on the in that direction right at the very end. That means that there's probably like 5 of these Captain America Cephastria for $8 available. But if those are all bought up and then one of them is still in your shopping cart when you check out, you're not going to get it. Like you're going to get a shopping cart error, and you can only check out once you remove that item. So I don't know if that addresses your question exactly, but if you just didn't want to, like you're busy this weekend, right? And like you're hanging out, that's cool. And you wanted just like to shop after the fact. Like this video here gets published, and so you can always like refer to like like item number 95. Just you just scroll back to whatever time point, check that out. You'll see a thumbnail for that item on the website, and if assuming that it's still there, you can just again create your entire shopping cart and then check out. Hopefully that helps. Philip, do you apply moonshiner method on any tanks and dose trace elements without water changes? No, I do not. Yeah, Ohio's economy is doing great. Is it? Is it? I don't know. Ugh. It really was as close to an interzoo in the US. Um, from what I've seen of interzoo, I don't think so. Like, so interzoo, so interzoo is very business to business focused, and this is like me talking like I've been to interzoo. I have not, but looking at the floor plan of interzoo, like the aquatics is just a tiny little section of it. Most of it, I mean, in aquatics meaning freshwater and saltwater. Um, most of it is going to be cat, dog, bird, reptile. Uh, and it's kind of like a running joke, but like the companies that do well in the pet industry don't do aquatics at all. There was like something about like there's like a company that just sells dog collars, and their sales on dog collars is like more than the entire aquatics industry times 10 every year. So the idea that, oh, big market segment over here, it's really not. And so Interzoo is a pet conference. It's the biggest pet show in the entire world. It's in Nuremberg, Germany, and it swells that entire city in size like multiple fold every single time that they hold that event. I would like to go. It's not every year though. It's every other year. So I missed it this year. Don't have the opportunity next year. The year after that, maybe I'll go. The stuff that stops me is I've never been to Germany, and I know that the logistics are probably easy. but just having never done it before, it would be nice to have some local support or some people that have like a lot of familiarity traveling and getting around Germany. Because unless I book a room like literally today for a lot of money, I'm not going to be in the city at all. Like Nuremberg is tiny. Like I think Nuremberg is about the size of Akron, Ohio. That's how tiny it is. And I mean, the idea of like Interzoo happening in Akron, Ohio is a joke. Like that's crazy talk, right? So chances are you're going to be staying in a different city altogether, and you have to take the train in and out. I mean, specifically for fish vendors, there's a zoo show here in Vegas. Oh, what's that one called? I think Brandy's going to that. Uh, it's what is that called? Super Zoo? Is it Super Zoo? Um, there's less than 1,200 square feet set up for fish in total. Oof. Yeah, yeah. It is interesting just to see like how different trade shows how different trade shows do things, and just like the size of trade show. Because I think on one hand, it's nice that there are trade shows that are trying to elevate the aquatics industry to make them like polished, but they don't have the money that some of these bigger industries do. So kind of like taking cues from like a bigger manufacturing show, or like a wedding show, or like a home and garden show. Like you can't really do that. So I wonder if the most successful shows in this industry might just be like the small rinky-dink tiny frag swap type things. And I think that whenever you're trying to like make a big show, unless you're at the top of the game, you might really struggle to pay those numbers that it really takes to put on a show that size. Super Zoo, yeah. Your team over at Abiz should be able to help. I wish I had a team over at Abiz. No, by the way, Abiz, not sponsored, not a channel sponsor. I would love for them to be a channel sponsor though, because I really like their products. One year it was closer to 10,000 people because a ton of Asian vendors all came. Oh, maybe 10,000 square feet, or is it 10,000 vendor or 10,000 attendees? Yeah, because I mean, 10,000 attendees is so many. Because I've seen what 7,000 looks like. It's a ton of people. Like that's like an aquashella, and aquashellas are gigantic. Obviously, not all of that saltwater, but huge. At some point, though, these shows get so big that it just makes me want to like get in a wheelchair on day one and just wheel myself around. Because when I saw Julian Sprung had posted like the floor map of Interzoo, and it looked like Google Earth. You're like looking down, and you can't read any of the things, right? It's like you can't read any of the labels for any of the booths. It's so tiny. It just looks like an endless sprawl. It might be 5 miles across or something crazy like that. It's insane. Oh. Apparently, not all stony corals have six-fold symmetry. Madrassus has five, Euphilia has eight, Cyphastria varies. That's interesting. Post the source of that. That would be an interesting read. Okay. So, what else is going on? What else is going on? Like we've been talking about, went to the show in Charlotte. This weekend, obviously, we're doing this live stream. Next weekend, I'm entertaining, and really it's getting stuff here ready for the big time, as far the big time as far as like the gauntlet of like the number of people coming to visit. um I have to say, this place is as polished as it's looked in a very long time, but there's always room for improvement, and that's kind of like what I'm chipping away at. Like, most of our stuff is doing super duper well, but it's always that last like 1 or 2% that is confounding. And you can't really make every coral super duper happy here, because, we're mixing so many different species of things in the same aquarium, and we keep stuff largely homogenized. So all of these different corals kind of have to adapt, to the mean. And certain ones, the fringes really aren't going to love that exactly. So it is really just trying to improve the lives for those last, the last remaining upset corals. But for the most part, things are looking really good, and it's just a matter of just some extra elbow grease to make things looking nearly unsustainably clean. That's kind of like the goal around here for me. Is does this look does this look like it's not going to really stay like this? 10,000 square feet. 10,000 square feet. That's not that big. Like, real talk, that's not that big. Super Zoo? I mean, we have a frag swap here in town that's like 10,000 square feet. That's tiny. I think I think the hall that the Aquatic Expo in Charlotte was like 60,000 square feet. Now 10,000 attendance is gigantic. Interesting. Okay. Courtney Jameson. I tried the mastic fish food recommendation in your latest fish video. My copper band is loving it. Usually only eats frozen mysis. That is awesome, because I don't think that my copper bands really have taken to mastic. Occasionally, one of ours will, but they tend to be pretty picky. So it's great that you're able to feed both mastic and frozen mysis. Jordan M, I want to see some black corals in aquariums. Isn't that extremely illegal to have black corals? Uh, Tricky McTrucking. How do you decide what corals to pick for the live sale? Here's the trick. I don't pick any of them. I leave that entirely to the staff. So it is as much a surprise for me as it is for you. That's how that goes. So the person that does most of the picking, his name is Luke. Occasionally, he gets input from some other staff members, Ben and Becca. Becca does all the shooting and the arrangement of the video clips, hands that over to me. The guys do all of like um, the back end of it, like get loaded onto the website. They work with Becca to get the images and stuff like that, and I edit the live stream file that you see behind us. And yeah, I mean this YouTube live show really is like very much like a team effort. Like, a lot of different roles are covered by different people, and so it tends to run extremely smoothly because we've been doing it for so long now. And it's not like super taxing on any one person, which is nice. Like, back in the day, this show was like a whole bunch to put together. Nowadays, it is what it is. It's no biggie. The whole show is like 250,000 square feet. That sounds about right. And the fish is just smashed into a corner. Okay, I get it now. They do it at the Mandalay Bay. So I was talking to one of the guys that used to organize MACNA. He's a dude with the hat from Australia. Uh, he was saying how, because like my original thought was if I was to ever do a show, I would want to do it in Vegas because there's like a lot of things to see, in Vegas. It's like I'm sure Vegas is hell for people that actually live in Vegas and have to deal with like the strip and all the traffic and everything like that. But for somebody coming in, the strip is like perfect, right? Because there's like a ton of different things you can do. There's tons of good restaurants. I mean, a ton of good restaurants. Like I would argue that Vegas might be like the best food city in the U.S. There's tons of activities, legal and illegal, and um, you can really make like your own experience there. Like for me, I don't gamble, and it's not some moral stance. I literally don't enjoy it. Um, so I'm there for shows and restaurants. That's it. And I like to look at the bright lights at night, and I don't want to be awake during the day. So like Vegas is like great, and obviously the new venue now that's like bleeding cash. If there's like a cool concert going on there, it might be really really cool. That sort of thing. So lots going on in Vegas. But this dude told me like the cost of getting a show onto the strip is so insanely expensive that it basically does not work for the aquarium industry. Like it is so expensive. So unless you're going off strip, you're not going to be in Vegas. Them's the breaks. Oh, and okay, so I have gambled in Vegas before, and it was at the penny slots, so I could get like free drinks. And I remember a photo taken of my friends and I as we were gambling at the penny slots, waiting for our drinks, and we looked absolutely miserable. So now I would just not gamble and just get a drink from the bar, like an adult. So yeah, it's just not my thing. Like the picture like told the entire story. Like I was miserable looking, just sitting there in front of that stupid machine. I wanted Macna to come back here as well. I wonder if the Vegas Macna was a thing that bankrupted them. Like that was entirely possible. It would need to be just off strip like the Rio or Westgate. Like I was thinking like Westgate when I meant on strip. Like Westgate is close enough to the strip for me to consider it on strip. Cause like Westgate, which is by the way a dumpy hotel. I think it used to be the Las Vegas Hilton, and so it's like that era, right? So it's not a nice room, uh, but it's like literally across you know a tiny little alley away from like the convention centers. And the convention center, the Las Vegas Convention Center that the Westgate is attached to, is no joke a mile long. Even then, I think that that venue is too expensive for an aquarium show. I went to Vegas at 19 and didn't really have much interest in the city back then, but would love it now at 35. I don't gamble either. I feel like just putting my money into anything else is better. Yeah, when I go to Vegas, um, my food budget is through the roof. Like, we went out with Harkins and we went to some Michelin starred sushi place right before a show. And by the way, the Cirque du Soleil show O is phenomenal, flippin' amazing. So yeah, I would love to do stuff like that some more. No, the Vegas Macno was the last time it made money. Interesting. If it made money, they should do that every year. like straight up, like, you know what? Magna is now a Vegas show. They should just do that. Reef Exotico by Luis. Hola, fan. What is up? What is up? Luis has a restaurant in Denver that I'm very fond of. He made us some absolutely amazing dishes, as well as the probably the best like mezcal old fashioned ever. That was okay. I don't know if you can share this, Luis, but I'm not a mezcal connoisseur. I really liked that particular mezcal. If you are willing to, can you share what brand that is so I can buy that for myself later? Jordan, I just want to go to Vegas as an anthropologist studying what humans do in an entirely manufactured environment. Yeah, they spend a lot of money. That's what they do. That town is crazy. Like the fact that that rideshare is so you know like Uber and Lyft and all the hotels had to build an off-site loading structure building just to handle the traffic to keep all those people away from the front hotel entrance. So you know like the super glitzy, you know, you pull up in your limo or whatever to your hotel. Yeah, that ain't happening anymore if that's a ride share. If it's a ride share, there's usually a separate like parking structure looking thing, but it's not parking. It is just like an airport terminal for ride share now. Like it is so busy on the strip. And I mean, I'm just speaking for the people that are hanging around Vegas, right? That are living there like Harkins. Um, that would be the last place on earth I would ever want to be as a local. But for like somebody coming in for a weekend, oh heck yeah, all about it. Luis is asking, how is the show circuit attendance this year? Chatter seems it is a lot lower than expected. I felt it at Reefstock. Um, I think Restock is one of the ones that didn't suffer as much as the rest of the world, believe it or not. I think that a lot of shows are going to struggle. I mean, there's like certain pockets, certain shows I think are just going to do just fine. Okay. I think a lot of the mid tier, newer shows, perhaps, and smaller shows, they might be flipping ghost towns. It might be really tough. Like this summer is going to really test a lot of the fidelity of the stores in this industry. Uh, I think it's the entire industry right now is as slow as I've ever seen it, and I think that a lot of people got into this business during like the COVID years when like anything you did was would probably be successful. Um, and a lot of those folks probably didn't have like the business acumen to really be in be in like a niche industry, but like the times are just so booming that like it covers up for like a lot of that type of stuff, a lot of mistakes. And so now that stuff is like really tight, I'm curious to see like who's gonna be like around. Like it's that bad. Like I don't think that everybody's gonna make it out of this okay. Um, so yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. And it's definitely reflected in the shows. I mean, like show attendance, I think is really down across the board. And just like talking with vendors, it's like it's kind of tight. It's kind of tight. You can make incredible living doing ride shares in cities like Vegas, like 150K. I've seen people at it. Not surprising. You better really, really, really you better really like driving because Vegas traffic is not my cup of tea. I think Fan even likes my off the strip food recommendations. Yes, but Vegas has like some legit special restaurants that you just can't get literally anywhere else in the world. Like like the flagship Joël Robuchon is there. And like we had dinner there one night when we visited this last time. Phenomenal. It's so cool. B, I think that even the shows that get a lot of people are still doing the same amount in sales as the show with fewer people. Yeah, that's true too. Like just because the people show up, like the people themselves are different than before. Like the budget, like the disposable income budget on, let's face it, a pretty esoteric hobby is just not there. So yeah, so even if you're able to bring the people in, will they spend? Like in the past, like so this is even when like times are good. Um, I remember that there were shows in certain geographies that just spent money, and there were certain geographies that didn't spend money, and they might have the same number of people show up. It's just like the culture of that region. Um, I mean, this is like me going back like more than 10 years, but yeah, I remember I went to one show once. This is back when I was an exhibitor. Crazy to even think about. Like that seems like a different universe away from now. But I remember one show, I think we made $80 made. I think we literally had $80 in transactions the entire day. Like that's wild. Okay. Dan, have you gotten any corals from Fiji? This last round, no. Um, so here's the thing about like being a coral farm that actually farms coral. We never missed Fiji corals. Like when Fiji was legal like 10 years ago or something like that, we still have all of those corals that we ever wanted from Fiji growing the entire time that Fiji was closed. Now that Fiji is back open, it's pretty clear that Fiji corals suck. They're terrible. Like they're absolutely awful. And so I have not purchased a single coral I have seen from Fiji since it's been back open. The only coral that I would probably get from Fiji, maybe yellow Fiji leather, but we already have it already growing. And maybe the Zoas, but they're not even that great. Harkins. B says that she will be in Vegas for Super Zoo. There you go. And Harkins is going to the Cali show. That's cool. Okay, the Mezcal brand is Del. Hold on. Okay, I need to copy. Let me copy. Okay, I'm gonna make a little note for myself here. Okay, before I forget. Thank you. I will have to get some of that and try to make my own version of that old fashioned. Aren't there acro you can only get from Fiji? Yeah, I don't like any of them though. Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing like fields of corals from like a couple of the wholesalers I went to, in person, and it's like dumpster. Like so, okay, when I go to a when I go to a wholesaler, which is kind of uncommon these days to be perfectly honest, not the best customer in the world. Um, I can literally look over 100 aquariums and not see a single coral that I want. So I am super selective about what I bring in. Having said that, Fiji looks the worst of all of it to the point where I'm like, who's gonna buy any of this stuff? Like it's not very good. I'm just saying it's not very good. The Lido Junior. I want all the sea fans from Tidal Gardens. Please, by all means, grab them up. Um, all of them except for item number 147, the Amber Sea fan. All of them are from the Caribbean, and all of them, period, are photosynthetic. So they're really easy to take care of. Harkins, the stuff that's come in from Fiji has been lower quality. I did get a Fiji yellow leather because I sold my last piece for just a fortune when it was closed. Yeah, I get that. Um, I was also talking to Chris Meckley at ACI this past weekend at Aquatic Expo, and he was telling me like the drama of him bringing in like all this stuff in from Fiji, and like the stuff that I saw was like not the highest quality stuff, but it was alive. His problem was all the stuff that he got in couldn't even like say that. They couldn't even say that it was alive. Like he had so many issues with it, and on top of that, like even if it was alive, it was butthole, not very good. Yeah, I'm definitely not an acro person, but these are not good acros. Like I've seen good acros. I mean, there's certainly acros that are gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a winner. That could certainly sell. I mean, the stuff that I saw from Fiji was just basically bleachy pastelly. Of the four new LFSs that opened after the pandemic, maybe one of them is left. In my opinion, this is the wrong type of business to open a brick and mortar and treat it like a side hustle. It has to be your main hustle. And not only that, I think that a lot of places, and this is a very understandable, right? You build a place and you kind of model how you behave and how you spend and how you do things based on your sales. Um, and makes a lot of sense. But if you get into it at the most like booming time imaginable, that's like a once in a generation pandemic fueled thing. Like that's not a sustainable economy. Like that's just not what that's going to be like. And if you've never seen like a 2008 recession, you've never seen a 2001 recession, and you're not seeing like, and this is the first time that maybe you in your adult life have ever really experienced a recession, being 2024. Like I personally in this company have gone through all three. So you have a different perspective. So the people that got in 3 years ago as a side hustle where everything worked out because, everything works out. Um, it could be a significant struggle, big time. Bucky Solomon, will you be visiting Polo Reef soon? Definitely not soon. We don't have any plans to travel anywhere for the rest of this year. So the real easy answer to this is no. I do not have plans to visit anywhere. I think Fiji mariculture was completely unmaintained when it was not being imported at all, meaning tons of pests and a lot of die off. Uh, that tracks with some of the stuff I've heard. Obviously, haven't been to Fiji, don't know, but I hear things, and I hear things like that. Ever try a Xenia refugium? I have not. Uh, so it's funny, like like a Xenia refugium sounds like you're using like Xenia as like a method of nutrient removal, like you're discarding it somehow. Uh, that would never happen here because we sell Xenia so effectively. Um, I kind of joke because like for the early part of this entire business, Xenia was easily our best selling coral by far. And like I kind of joke now that this building is the house that Xenia built. So yeah, yeah. I'm such a big fan of Xenia forever. Harkin says, if you own a fish store, you better be doing services because it's the only way you survive. Hopefully, I survive because I don't do service. And you know, that's one of those things. I think that service companies can do well, like really well. But at the same time, it is such a different business that I could never. Like personally, I could never. Um, you really have to be like mentally in that space to do that type of work. You have to also have the capital to do that type of work, and you have to be in the market to do that kind of work. Like I think a lot of places aren't Southern California, Orlando, Miami, New York. Like Gary, Indiana is not going to have a thriving maintenance company business, you know? It's just not. So I don't think that Northeast Ohio is going to have like a thriving business in that way. So, yeah, I don't really see it. Hey, Ma, very distracting. What do you think? Gotta play with the volume here for just a sec. Sorry about that. Okay, catching up on chat here. Yeah, and the thing about that maintenance stuff is that it could do so well. Like I've seen certain places that, they're really just crushing it, and I always think, maybe we should do something like that. But I'm like, wait a minute. The first time that I have to deal with some rich dude that has an attitude, I am out of that space entirely. Like absolutely not. Like a lot of the reason why I got into this wasn't necessarily because of the money. It was for like a certain lifestyle that I would completely be sacrificing if I had to deal with like dramatic rich people that think that I'm basically the lawn care company that's taking care of their equipment or their aquarium. Tim Russell, the camera work in all of your videos is top notch. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Big props to Becca. She does the vast majority of the videography these days. I still do like my little bit here, but these days I spend more time siphoning aquariums than I do behind a camera. It's kind of messed up. Matthew Wagner. Ever thought about doing side by side views like Royal Purple Pallies, Purple Death Pallies, and Joker Pallies? I'd like to see them all lined up under the spectrum change like you have shown here. Never really thought about that. But yeah, they are kind of similar. The Joker Pallies being Zoas, I believe, not even Pallies at all. But Royal Purple and Purple Death, yes, those are actual Pallies. Coral selection is non-existent and livestock tanks need major cleaning and overhaul. Don't get me started on the dry goods. Dry goods is an interesting thing. It's like that's a toughie. A lot of times there aren't the margins there, and sometimes, like I remember when I used to sell some dry goods, it was like you carry a light. It's an expensive light, and before you're even able to sell them all, they come up with a new one, and you can't sell the old ones at all. Like that type of like frustration. Peeved because I just went to buy reagents and food out of stock. Hence my rant. Yeah. I wouldn't know. I just have everything shipped in. But you know that I think that goes to like just shopping locally in general. It's tough. Like you want to be like, oh, I want to support local businesses and blah blah blah. But a lot of times when you go shop locally, they just don't have anything. Like hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot, they don't have anything. If I'm ever looking for anything specific plumbing wise, it ain't gonna be there. I have to order it online. Barry Goss Sr. Nobody likes working for a rich Karen. Yeah, I don't. That's for sure. The Lido Jr. I hope to see more video collabs with Tidal Gardens. The Serpa video was so fun and cool to see. Funny you mentioned that. At in Dallas. I so that was the first time I ever really met. No, that's not true. That's not true. I said hello once before in Aquashella to him. Uh, but that was like the first time that we've ever spent more than like 2 seconds around each other. But this past show in Dallas, I made it a point. It's like, look, I want to have lunch, can hang out a bit, and as like fate would have it, we also went to dinner at that same event. So there's like a day where like we spent like hours hanging around and talking about this, that, and the other thing. So he will be a podcast guest uh, tentatively in July, meaning you guys will see it in like August or September, depending on how fast we can edit any one of those things, which is not quickly. Um, but yeah, I think that I'm going to be bringing on like some other people like that might not might be slightly tangential to the Reef Aquarium crowd, because it is nice to get like a different perspective from some folks. Like I want to get like a freshwater aquascaper on, because just like the mentality of people that put together those tanks is so different from saltwater hobbyists. Like for example, when saltwater people get together and talk, and they're talking about their tanks, they're talking about the systems that they're looking to do. Like we're really, I mean, especially me, I'm really talking about equipment. Like this is a topic about system design and equipment. And when you talk to freshwater guys, it is all about like the artistic stuff about aquascape. Like it's really all about, a vision and executing on it and all of that. Whereas there's not nearly so much of that in our space. And also they can like hard commit to a really narrow focus as far as like fish and like plant selection and rock and wood selection. Whereas I think that a lot of us in that have a home reef aquarium, you really only have like the budget and space to do one reef aquarium. So you end up putting in like every coral you ever liked into the single aquarium without any kind of like rhyme or reason. And so you kind of get like this overall sameness of rainbow barf design wise in what we do. And they're cool corals individually, but as like a design concept for an entire aquarium, not super refined really. And so yeah, I want to like bring on some freshwater folks to kind of give that different perspective in that. And going back to Serpa, like he does like a lot of freshwater builds, but really I think his strong suit that he DIYs so much stuff. Like the amount of videos that he puts out, and his videos aren't like talking head stuff where he's just like talking about sports or something where you can just like turn on the camera and just talk. No, he actually has to do a lot of building, a lot of construction type stuff. So it's amazing what that guy does. Need to point them to Jake's video. I can still hear him saying, "Don't tell the customer I can order it for you. They can do that on their own." Yeah, or you can be like me and not have local customers at all. I've had that exact conversation with some of the customers. I explained that I care for your pets because you don't want to care for them, but you want them in your house. I will fire the customers. Yeah, you gotta. Have you seen the Marine Farmer Cellar? I have not. I love how he has rare softies. That's cool. Wonder how farmable those are though. Um, so I don't know which softies you're talking about, obviously, but soft corals grow a lot more slowly than people think. Like, um, you would think that, oh, I could just frag up these leathers and they grow so fast. They really don't. Not compared to like fast growing stonies. Um, I think that's kind of like why things like yellow Fiji leathers were so rare when Fiji shut down. Was like, yeah, people weren't farming these things. Even today, there's like a lot of like toadstools. Like if you go to any online retailer, um, look at their selection um, of soft corals in general. It's going to be pretty thin, and the number of those that are actually farmed, next to none. Podcast guest, can't talk. Podcast guest, let's go. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's one of those things that you just have to get on the calendar, and it should be good. Like there's a lot of folks that are going to be coming in, and yeah, I expect it to be a good time. We just have to figure out some good topics for people. By the way, this plate coral here uh, looks every bit as crazy as that imagery is. It is one of like the most like magical corals that we sell here, and the fact that it's on any kind of discount is also pretty crazy because we don't have any issue selling that at full price. Just gonna throw that out there. Meaning somebody should buy that immediately. Like I said, I don't make the list. It just kind of shows up. So somebody downstairs was feeling very generous when they made that list. One of the things that separated us from most was that we were like marine collectors. Some distribution of hard goods and services, but we did 90-day fish QTs. Yeah, that's really good because there's not a lot of that. And there's not a for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hardcore like fish people that do that. Uh, I mean, part of it just might be like just entirely too much money to be made just like flipping fish, I guess. It's like bringing them in and moving them out as fast as possible. But I think as like import tightens up on that's going to be less of a thing. And also, there's only, so much you can really do before like you start losing money on dead animals. Case in point, uh, Elliot for Marine Collectors. He he's done with doing like green chromis. Uh, he was talking to me about how he would charge like there's like a flat fee for doing like the long quarantine, and he would do like $150 per green chromis because they had such poor survivability because of how poorly they were handled and collected that by the time he got like any of them in, it's like they're all going to be dead. And so to get any number of these things to survive into the customer's hands, it's like, no, no, I'm going to charge you a fortune. And even now, he gets requests for green chromis at $150 a fish, and he'll just decline the entire request. He'll be like, no, I'm not gonna bring in any of these for you. So yeah, it is weird how the places that do fish well are so uncommon. Philip Fest, who's paying for reef maintenance? The rich? Where's the sense of pride and excitement in building an ocean in your living room, though? The people that pay for it have no clue that this is even salt water. Like, dead serious. Like, ugh. They are not hobbyists. They're tourists at best. Reef culture in Bedford, Ohio. Never even heard of it. They QT all the fish they sell. That's very cool because that is not a cheap or labor non-intensive thing. We have a very small rudimentary like fish thing going on downstairs now, and I'm polishing it up slowly because I'm the one that's chiefly responsible for it. I've been the fish guy lately here, and so like one of our um, one of our tangs had like this weird like bacterial thing going on, and he's been suffering with it for a while. So we caught him, we put him in like a 20-gallon tank, and like I think a lot of it is kind of what Elliot had suggested was, you paint out as much of that tank black as you can, and so I did, and that helped out immediately, by the way. So there's only like one side viewable, so all the other sides are all like all closed up. That helped out greatly with like the stress that that fish is under, just not being able to see anything else. It's kind of just tucked away in its own little corner. And then we were treating it with a mix of furin 2 and metronidazole. And every other day, I would do like basically a 60% water change on that tank to get it like clean it up like really, really well. And just that keeping that tank like pretty darn clean. And whenever I would like replenish water, it would always be like from a new saltwater source, not from like an existing aquarium or anything like that. It was like freshly, it's not freshly made. It's in our big, saltwater mixing station. But it would be like new saltwater, and like I would do like between 60 to 75% water changes every other day. And lo and behold, like this really sick yellow tang that has like all kinds of like fin damage and stuff like that. It had like these like sores on his body. That treatment of metronidazole and furin 2 basically fixed this fish after 10 days to the point that we could like reintroduce it back into that tank, and it's behaving so much better. And so there's another tang that was like looking kind of like sketch, so we took him, and now I'm putting him through that same treatment. But yeah, it's just a lot of it just comes down to like paying like closer attention to these things, and that's made like a huge difference. um, so yeah, I think that in the future, I've got some ideas on even how to do that whole process better. But like for now, we're doing like these 20-gallon tanks. Green chromas are the freaking worst for QT. If someone wanted five, would buy 75 and have 18 by the time 90 days rolled around. We charge like 125 a fish as well. Yeah, dude. It's they're treated so poorly. It's one of those things that he like Elliot straight up said like they should be left in the ocean. That's how bad they are. The Little Junior, is that double trouble grafted? Okay, sorry, I can't read it because there's like the stupid icon. Grafted or just sitting together? That is just sitting together. Yeah, 125 for a chromis. Good lord. It goes back to the thing of you cannot save money on dead fish. To get the chromises that will live, that means that somebody had to put in like a week's worth of labor and probably had to like suffer through 90% losses. Like it's really gross. Sometimes you kind of get like a peek behind the curtain, and it's like, yeah, maybe we should ban this industry. Like it's that bad. And you okay, you guys might not see it so bad because, like, you're here, okay? Uh, the majority of this hobby isn't hanging out on a Tidal Gardens live stream. You're not watching YouTube videos at all about how to care for these things. You're not having active discussions about like uh, coral taxonomy, or like you're not arguing with Salem Clemens about bacteria stuff. You're not watching our reef receipts where we're going over scientific journals. None of that. You're not talking about the cutting edge of anything. You're just some hobbyist that probably went to Petco. And like I recently went to a PetSmart just to like buy some random thing, right? Just because I've got this little freshwater tank that I'm like keeping my mangroves in. So I went to PetSmart and I'm like, oh, this is how the other half lives. Okay. Yeah, all these fish are gonna die in here. Like it was like that bad. So yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, where you see that in the reef aquarium hobby right now, where it's like really bad, it's in the fish. Not so much in the coral, strangely. Like generally speaking, coral seem to be doing all right. The fish at scale have it kind of rough. Okay, going back a couple comments. I also offer insurance on the tank occupancy. Crash, I will replace it to the best I could. Um, it was $1,000 a month in insurance. Eh, yeah. Don't go to an importer on fish import days. There are huge losses at the wholesale level before we even get them out of their boxes. That's what I hear. So Elliot did say that like he would, hand pick stuff for me, which could help a lot because like once I am able to do some of the QT stuff myself, I probably will. Uh, but we need to make an entire system to make that job easier. Because by the way, it might never be easy, but we have to try to make it as easy as possible. Otherwise, stuff just won't. We just won't do it. Like the jobs have to be easy, and anything I can do, like investment wise, like capital investment wise, to get that to reality, I have to make that attempt. Make the tanks easy to drain, make the tanks easy to fill back up, make the tanks easy to wipe out and clean. All these things, like it really matters. Just our ability to make up the medications safely away from coral systems, preferably, all of that fun stuff. And just like the handling of these new fish that are all super stressed out. Um, I would like to, because right now we're, like I said, we're only using like two 20-gallon aquariums that are painted. But down the road, I think that a dedicated fish system would be like very helpful. And that is only for us to bring in fish for our own use. It's not for like selling fish. Like I don't want to ever do that. But yes, I have heard that uh, like wholesale fish places are kind of whack, and they've probably been that way for a really long time. They've made so much money doing so that they probably won't be changing unless something else drastically changes. And the funny thing is like we are kind of like iffy on buying fish wholesale. Like we just I don't like doing it. Um, Strangely though, I've got no issue buying coral that way. Like the corals seem to be pretty good for the most part. You occasionally get a dud, meaning that like, oh, the picture that they had was not that close, not that close. I mean, you guys on the retail end think that it's hard to shop. It's hard on the wholesale level to shop on based on their photos. Let's just say they aren't doing a 30-second color change slide with multiple shots at different lighting temperatures. They're not doing that. Just saying. Philip, I'm owning my first reef tank. Did the research, never once considered Petco or commercial. Paid a little more for quarantine fish and reputable coral sources, but it makes the hobby more enjoyable. A lot of what makes the hobby more enjoyable is avoiding the big headaches. And the more you can do up front, the more you'll appreciate it. Because like when you run into like a really bad issue, it's not that fun. Not that fun to deal with. As far as photos and the product delivered, I had an incredibly good experience with my last purchase with Tidal Gardens and look forward to the next. Thank you so much, Tricky Mick Trucking. Um, we try our best, but sometimes it's still even a challenge for us because um, not everybody. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with what it is you're looking at, it can be, it still can be deceptive. And it's not that we're trying to be deceptive, but we're shooting with a $10,000 camera and I have a professional that is arguably the best photographer in the industry. And then running that through processing by probably one of the best editors in the industry. Like, I'll put a Becca up there with anybody. And before you say Michael Vargas, who, by the way, is a fantastic photographer, Becca's biggest fan is Michael Vargas. Don't even get it twisted. He always asks about how she's doing whenever I visit Dallas. So no, like they are on each other's radar, no doubt. Okay. Becca shoots for like commercial sale. Michael Vargas shoots for like more for like Coral Magazine. Well, I was about to say he shoots more for like Coral Magazine and stuff, but like Becca shoots for Coral Magazine too. It's a different focus. He's not shooting for retail sales. Let's just say that. So it's a different aesthetic, okay? But not even playing around. Becca's a monster when it comes to photography. Uh, but my point is, the corals, when we do this, might look better because we've done all these things. Like your home aquarium probably isn't in a studio type environment. Like Tidal Gardens, as much as it is a coral farm, it's a studio environment. Uh, the amount of investment we do in shooting coral is, I'll put it up with it with anybody. Like it's highly refined. So like sometimes it's like I think that the photography is borderline too good because it is not replicable by 99.99% of anybody else. Even the ones that do this professionally. Like let alone like a home hobbyist that has a tank in their living room with like stray light everywhere with not the most insane lighting rigs, not the most insane camera. They're using their phone or whatnot. Really funny point. We had an acanthophilia, like a four digit coral, right? So just the other day, this person asked for an additional photo. I'm like, generally we don't do this, but he's like, please just entertain this request. Can you just please just put on blue light, put like an orange filter on a phone and just shoot that? Because it's like I just need to like get an idea of what it's gonna look like, under my conditions, and that's code, It's like, and when I did it, it's like yeah, he just bought it right away. So it was worth my time just to snap off a phone picture and text it to him. But yeah, it's like, can you just like not shoot so well, please? It's kind of funny. Yep, Philip, you'll have a much better experience. Aquacultured corals are so much nicer, true. And having sick fish in a reef is so hard when they need medication. True. Is that circuit breaker grafted? It is. Yes. And you can kind of tell because you see the colors randomly in the other sections of it. It just so happens to look fake because it's almost like it's a perfect, quadrant. I noticed that when I was editing too. I was like, boy, It's on a square tile that looks really square in pattern, like it's a checkerboard. But no, absolutely not. It just happens to look that way. It is a grafted piece. Becca is so amazing at all the things she's capable of. Yeah, she sure is. And she does like a ton of stuff here. And that's probably why like it takes us forever to like get certain excuse me, videos edited, is because she's got a lot on her plate. So yeah, when I put like a podcast that's like 45 minutes, it's like, yeah, have fun with that. And it might be a few weeks. So I would say that like I edit about half the videos now. She edits the other half, but it's usually like here, just chip away this podcast when you have some free time, and it's ready when it's ready. So I've got to like polish up the third and final of the videos that I did with Elliot, and you guys might see that in 3 weeks. It's not going to be anytime soon. Yeah, it was so perfect I had to ask. Yeah, exactly. It's practically goofy looking because it just looks too curated, you know. Uh, yeah, straight up unnatural. And by the way, that is one of the ones that is a what you see is what you get. So if somebody is to buy that square tile, you will get that square tile. Okay, real quick. We are nearly done here. So thank you guys for hanging out. Let me say my thank yous. Thank you to our corporate sponsor, Polyp Lab. Very much appreciated. And thank you. We'll start with the YouTube members: Renee Newman, Mark Baumgartner, William Heitz, Carlos Fernandez, Steven13, Mike Downey, Keith Holland, Terry Kuhn, Herb777, Justin Harden, and Ohio Adventures. And on the Patreon side, we have Elaine Martinassi, Alan Jackson, Ann Lewis, Brandy Camp, Chuck and Meyer, Greg Zimmerman, Harkins Aquatics, thanks Harkins, ICP Test Hub, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Lisa Clow, Lacry Fine Art, Lynn Holt, Miss Mandy, Puddle Aquatics, Ryan Baker, Scott Williams, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, Thomas Tarrant, and Tim Gardner. Thank you all so much, Patreon and YouTube members. So once this thing is all done, for the folks that still want to purchase corals, you will have the opportunity for pretty much the rest of this upcoming week. It's in the section of the website for live sale. It is also linked in the pinned comment in the live chat as well as the description. We will probably be sending out like shipping timing emails starting Sunday. But most of it we'd like to get out like Monday, Tuesday-ish. That's generally how these things go. If you need a specific shipping day, feel free to reach out to us at support@tidalgardens.com, or orders at tidalgardens.com, and we can get something else on the calendar for you. Trying to think of anything else. Nope, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys have like a good rest of the weekend planned. Like I said, I got a lot of yard work ahead of me, I'm guessing. And I'm probably going to spend some time doing a water change on my poor sick yellow tang that's in treatment in quarantine. So he gets the 60%er today. And yeah, he gets a 60%er today and on Monday. So he'll be in good shape. But yeah, guys, thanks again for hanging out. We are into overtime, and let's see. Yeah, I shall see you all next time here. I'm going to hang out for just a little bit longer. I need to see on the actual live thing that it goes full. So I'm on number 5 here, but on my broadcast preview, it's at 224. So once 225 is done, I will end the stream. Any Nexus on the live? Did I miss it? Yes, there are. There are Nexuses on the live. I think that they were early in the show though, Harkins. Like I think within the first 5 or so items. So as this thing like goes back around, hopefully you saw it. Okay. So I'm on item number 6, but I'm looking at item number 225. So the next one, yeah, until next time. See y'all.